everybody. Welcome back. This is Metaphysically Speaking with Mystic Madison. We had a slight delay, slight technical difficulty, but here we are. And today, as you know, I've been having guests every week. We've had astrologers, we've had mediums, we had a couple of guys that were filmmakers that are in the horror genre. That was our Halloween special. And today we have Jan Hoffman.
Hello, everyone.
And Jan
Glad to be
Hoffman.
here.
Jan Hoffman's she's a clairvoyant, a medium, but what makes her really different and what sets her apart from everybody else is she is a psychometrist. And you're going to explain what that means, and then we're going to have a really fun show today. And by the way, if you'd like to call in, please call in because she's here to answer questions. Very few people know how to be a psychometrist, and we were lucky enough to actually find her, and I'll tell you the story later. But why don't you introduce yourself and take a moment to explain what that's all about.
Okay. Psychometry is, there's energy in items, and whether it's a chair, whether it's a person, whether it's a picture, no matter what it is, I have the capacity to hold an item, and I get tons of information. I get it through visual. I'll see a picture, or hear a voice telling me what the situation is with that particular person, or where it came from, how old it is, things of that sort.
Wow. So psychometry is actually getting messages from items.
Right, but it's also psychometry is looking at a picture and getting information from a picture.
Wow.
But there's energy in everything.
So you're picking up vibrations from things outside of yourself.
Exactly.
Now, do you think, and we're going to have a really fun show today because I have a great story about Jan, but we also have some jewelry pieces because part of psychometry is being able to get feelings or vibrations about jewelry. Is it because, do you think you're getting it from the stones themselves, or do you think you're getting it because other people, maybe a fossil of their vibration got sort of deposited on the piece? Where do you think that comes from?
It's very difficult for me to explain why it comes. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like when people come in, I always say to them, they'll hand me a watch or a ring or something. And at first I would be talking and I'd be telling people things, and it wasn't that person who's across from me. It'd be like, oh, this was my grandmother's from 19 something. So I was getting that energy. It just, the energy of the person stays. But what the problem is, if someone's wearing, like if you wore any of this stuff, I'm going to get your energy. I'm not going to get, you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Times.
So, and it's probably interesting and difficult to differentiate the two.
It is.
But yet the story that I'm going to share with everybody is what happened when you met me with my particular piece, because you didn't get my energy at all.
That's true.
Because and whether or not that was somebody that was a strong personality trying to come through.
Absolutely.
Or it was just that my energy was weaker. I mean, who knows? But we'll have to share that. So, do you think it works the same for costume pieces? Have you ever had that happen?
Really it depends. It depends. Sometimes the energy is so strong and has a really pertinent message. That's really the truth. I don't, if someone needs to hear something, then everything else kind of disappears, and it's very clear that I'm supposed to pass that message on.
Wow, that's interesting. So, I feel like a lot of people maybe weren't familiar with what psychometry is. I mean, there's just such a big umbrella of so many different types of intuitives and so many different types of mediums, and you're a clairvoyant,
right?
Which is also like under its own section, or and so there's so many different things. How did you? Do you want to maybe tell the viewers, like, how did you find out? Like, what happened to you that you're like, oh my God, like, were you looking at your mom's jewelry one day and all of a sudden you started to feel different feelings that weren't your own? Or how old were you when this all happened?
Well, when I didn't really realize that I had this gift when I was a little girl. I would hear a voice that would be telling me something that was the truth. I mean, I love this story. Even when there was a little girl that wanted to play with me, and I knew she was lying. I said, no, she says, I can't play with you today. I have to do my homework. I said, no, that's not true. So and so is coming over.
Wow.
I'm not kidding. So it was a gradual process when I learned that I really want to do this as a profession. It was gradual. And it was mostly because at the very beginning, when I first started doing psychic readings, I think that I used some of the items to ground myself, like holding on to something versus, just doing it with no cards or anything. So then I start getting messages.
I noticed you're holding something today.
It does
do you want to show everybody what you're holding?
Yeah, it's just a heartstone. It's rose quartz. I don't always, but for today I just felt like holding this.
And what does rose quartz do? Some people may not know.
Rose quartz is a love stone. Just love, unconditional love.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because we have agate here, and
I don't even know what that is.
And this is something that you brought.
Yes.
So, yeah. So I guess the idea is that everything has its own energy.
Absolutely. And sometimes there's energy. The other thing, there is a school of thought that sometimes people have things in their home that they let's say they got it from a garage sale.
Right.
Or they got it.
Right.
From
And you think you have this great find. You're like, look what I've brought home.
Exactly. You know where I'm going probably.
I can guess.
Right.
My psychic antennas are up.
Right. And all of a sudden the energy, they're going like, what is it? I can't believe all of a sudden all this stuff is happening, and it really what they brought in is they brought in some bad energy from the other person.
Wow.
So I tell them to just get rid of it. Get rid of it.
That's really interesting. That almost touches on feng shui. Like you could actually, I mean, I don't know if you've ever done that, but you could actually walk through people's homes. Do you do that?
I clear houses.
Oh my God, clear mine. I need my house cleared. Right. We have plenty of things plenty of treasures that we've brought from garage sales.
I need mine clean.
Maybe we could do an exchange. I'll clean your house and you can clear my home.
Okay.
But yeah, it's interesting to think like that things have energy, because most people think in the very first show, which I had with Nikki Keegan, I don't know if I mentioned my first show, but we talked about how to keep your aura clean. And we talked about how it's a little bit like flossing your teeth and just kind of staying attuned to the fact that we do pick up stuff that we carry around with us. But now this is a whole nother spectrum, though, when you think that you buy something secondhand,
right,
which will lead us to the story of how I met you.
Okay.
But it's a whole nother thing when you think that every creativity coming alive on the show. But I dress very vintage today. Can you tell? I have
you look great.
thank you. I have like a vintage dress. I have pearls on. I have pearl earrings. I put a flower in my hair, which is very 50s. I'm kind of crossing my decades here a little bit, but I'm doing that. And maybe this is a good time to tell my story, but I'm doing that because I'm wearing something that I never take off, that is very special to me, that is from the 40s, and that is my engagement ring. So when my husband proposed to me, I realized that getting a ring from someone you love is probably one of the most meaningful things that you'll ever do. Because not just because it costs a lot. Yes, it costs a lot, but it doesn't even matter how much you pay for it. What really matters is that this is sort of it's symbolic, and it's something that, first of all, I'm so afraid to lose it. I never take it off, never. And when I met you, which was earlier this year, I have already been wearing this ring for like almost 15 years, 14 years. And I had always wondered, because the ring came from an antique store, I'd always wondered who wore it before me.
Right.
What was she like? I'll never know, because coming from an antique store, I believe it was probably bought from an estate.
Right.
I asked the jeweler and the people that worked in the store. It was a very popular store at the time called the Ivy. Did you ever go to the Ivy in Sherman Oaks?
Yes, yes.
And I forget the woman's name who sold it to me, but she was like an expert in jewelry, and she knew exactly what decade everything came from. And I tried on so many rings, and when I tried on this ring, I was like, this is the ring.
Right.
This is the ring for me. And when I met you at that party, I think it was our mutual friend
Right.
Kelly's party,
Right.
and we actually, this is how fate works. We actually were both lost. Remember
That's
that?
right.
We
That's
couldn't find the apartment.
Two
It was-
psychics that are lost.
It was like, well, that doesn't mean we're good at maps. I wish I could picture maps in my head, but yeah, we were trying to find Kelly's front door.
Right.
Neither of us had been there. I think you had never been there, and we were in the elevator together.
Right.
And
Right.
and you told me that you do psychometry, and I thought to myself, I wonder if I can ask her to kind of check out my ring. And I thought it will never work. It's never going to work because I'd had other people try and nobody really could get anything. And I didn't think it would work because I've been wearing it for 14 years. For 13 years. I think it was 13 years. But I don't know if I should show my ring. I'm going to go to the front with my unmanicured nails. We were talking about that earlier. And I don't know if you can see, but this is, can you see anything here? Can you see that I have a Band-Aid on my finger, but I don't know if you can see, this is a really, really, really old ring.
Beautiful.
Thank you. And I had always wondered, like, who wore it before me, and I asked you. I'm going to let you hold it as I tell this story.
Okay, sure.
And I said, hey, I wonder if you can get anything. You probably can't. And you were sitting with it, and you were just talking, saying, well, you know, a lot of times I'll get the person, you just said exactly what you said on the show. A lot of times I can't really pick up anything. You've been wearing it too long, and all of a sudden you froze.
Right.
And I'm going to tell it as I saw it.
Okay.
You froze, and you went like this. You went, oh my God. And I'm like, what? And you said, I'm getting a name here. And I said, what's the name? And you said, Aileen or Eileen, and you weren't sure if it was Aileen or Eileen, but she was a nurse. This is what you said, and I'm still getting chills thinking about it. But you said she was a nurse. She worked with pediatrics. She worked with children, and I started getting chills just like I'm getting now. And I remember saying to you, this is so odd, because ever since when my husband gave me that ring, we were engaged. And this is a personal story, but that weekend that he gave me that ring, we were away for Christmas, I got pregnant. And I didn't know I was pregnant. I had no idea I was pregnant. But I always thought to myself, this is either somebody who had a lot of kids or somebody who really wanted kids. Right. I put this ring on my finger, and I manifested something that we were planning our wedding. Right. So it's a fascinating story. And when you got hit like that, and I felt like every hair was standing on end because it just felt so right. I did not tell you the story about how I got pregnant quickly. You started talking about how you were seeing her in a hospital working with children. And then I remember saying to you, maybe we should tell Eileen, that she doesn't have to stay around anymore. Right. And we talked about maybe doing some sort of a ritual to let her go. So the interesting part is that here, somehow, through the decades and through time and space, somebody that had passed away had an influence on my life because I took on this ring. Right. You're very, very, I mean, it was, I very much believe in miracles, and I believe in what's meant to be, destiny. So it was all meant to be. Everything that occurred was meant to be. Buying the ring, her message that, you know, she wanted to finally, I think, you know, sometimes you talked about like we talked about doing a ritual and letting her go. Yeah. Now, to be honest with you, the part that's so interesting is sometimes when something's discovered and the message is clear, the ritual is not necessary. Do you know what I'm saying? It's almost like it balances so the universe balances it out, maybe. Right. And sometimes they move on. They don't have to. The message isn't as important. It's okay for them to go, basically. Because I'm not feeling, you know, well, maybe it's because we're doing this right now, but I'm not feeling that same kind of urgency.
I
Right.
would say.
Well, I felt that it really took you by surprise
It did.
because I think it's because I had been wearing it for like over a decade at that point. I didn't think you'd get anything, and when you actually like did this thing where you jolted, it really shocked you. I felt that you got it so strong.
I think also because both of us, I think it's a very important point when you really connect with an energy and spirit or whatever it is, and there is definite messages. I always get the chills. I almost always get the chills. Sometimes the other person does as well, but that's a sign for me that I'm on the right track.
You know, an intuitive told me when I was really young and just kind of getting into this, they said to me that when you get the chills, that means you're on. You've hit
Right.
the bullseye, and
Right.
and it's right. That's the
Right.
truth.
Right.
So the chills equate to truth, and when you start to tear up and cry, you're feeling love and connection.
Right.
And when you told me this, I don't know if you remember that too, but I started crying.
Right.
I actually felt her.
Right.
So,
Amazing.
and maybe what I was feeling was her relief that she was discovered,
Exactly.
or that there was that connection that was made, and she was there with us.
I think you were feeling a lot of gratitude as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing to feel.
Right.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of emotions that go into
Absolutely.
spiritual psychic work. Some people say it's draining, but I don't know if you experience this, but I actually feel that I get energized. I don't particularly feel drained. I feel like it gives me
When you
something.
do readings, you mean?
When I do readings, when we talk about stuff like
Okay.
this, even like the fact that it made me tear up and I had goosebumps and I cried.
Well, I have another suggestion, and that is you talk about energized. It depends. Sometimes I'm energized, and sometimes if I don't meditate properly or protect myself before,
Uh-huh.
I can get drained. I can. It really depends. And it's the same thing with other people. Like when you're in a group at a party and someone's around that drains you,
Mm-hmm.
it's the same kind of energetic
Mhm.
situation,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, definitely. But didn't you tell me you have a Pisces moon? I forget.
No, Aquarius.
Your Aquarius moon. I
Yeah.
thought you had some. Yeah. So I feel like I tend to not get as drained, but then again, I probably am more drained than I know. I probably think I'm not drained, but I really
good.
am.
That's good.
I probably walk
energy,
around
girl.
drained.
High
But,
energy.
So before we go into, I thought it'd be really an interesting thing for, before you do this, I thought it'd be interesting for you to talk about, you were telling me earlier about some of the things people bring to you and how funny that is and
Oh my
some of your own
God.
experiences. But I just also wanted to say that feel free to call in. We're still, there's some technical stuff that we're working out, but if you have any questions for Jan, if you have any questions about some, maybe, some energetic issues that you want to sort out, I mean, we're here to take your questions. And then and please also send me a heart. Send me a heart, because that's how I know, or a thumbs up, that's how I know that we have followers. You can also call in and talk about what kind of things you're interested in. We're interested in knowing what you want to see. So again, send a heart. It's Metaphysically Speaking with Mystic Madison and her beautiful guest, Jan Hoffman, today. So, did you want to talk about your website real quick? I forgot to introduce that.
That's okay. If you want to contact me, it's miraclesofthemind.com. And I'm Jan Hoffman with 2 N's. Jann. Hoffman.
And 2 F's.
2 F's.
2
Right.
N's, 2 F's.
Right, exactly.
So yeah, I love this.
Oh, we were going to talk about what people brought in.
Yeah.
Oh my God. But
You were telling me.
if there's any children around, maybe you should put them in another room.
Oh my God.
Okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Are we going from like what? Like.
I'm telling you what people bring in.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes I've had people bring in. I said, bring 1 or 2 items, and they'll bring like almost a suitcase of things.
Oh my
Of
God.
people, they're bringing out shirts, and they're bringing out towels, and they're bringing out. The funniest, I think, there's 2 funny things that stand out more than anything. One person brought in a pair of her husband's shoes. Okay, so I'm sitting there holding his shoe, trying to figure out. She wants to know, where
he's been?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
That's
Right.
hilarious.
But the funniest one, can this be a little R-rated?
It's R-rated now. Kids,
Okay,
go,
here we
go.
Kids. All right. So this other woman brought in a pair of her husband's underwear. Now, the part that's really cool is that they were clean. Okay.
That's not R-rated. I thought you were going to say something
No.
else. I was afraid. I didn't
Well,
know what you were going to say.
I'm not done. She wanted to know if he was cheating.
So she brought his underwear.
She brought his
Can
underwear.
you read clothing? I guess you
Yeah.
can.
I worked for some detectives with missing children, and I
Wow.
would have to hold items. They would send me items of the children's,
Wow.
right, to see whether or not they were, alive or what the situation
My goodness.
was. Yeah, it was too hard though. It was very tough for me.
Did you get hits?
I did.
You
Absolutely.
did. And were the hits clearer
The
if
part-
somebody had passed on?
Definitely. But the part that was difficult when you work in that situation, you really don't, because it's sort of like you're a third, fourth party. You don't really get that much feedback of whether or not you're on the right track or not.
Right.
You just
right,
give the information. You just pass
Right.
it on.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
That's interesting.
Right.
So what about the guy with the shoe? What about the woman with the husband's shoes?
Oh, the shoe?
Yeah, could you
I mean,
see
I
where his shoes
finally
were?
just said, I'm just like, I can't do this. I mean, it's ridiculous. Give me something else, okay? So I gave her shoes back. But some of the things that people ask are just very amusing to me. They think we're God. We're God, right? We know everything. So basically, another thing that happened was I was able to. This was really, really, and was very sad. But somebody brought an item in. He was missing. He was a man that was missing, and I kept seeing he had been hiking and he was missing. And I pretty much told them where they could find him. I wasn't sure if he was gone or not, but yeah. So that wasn't exactly. It was really hard though.
But they found him.
Yes, they did.
It sounds like
Yes, they did.
he didn't make it.
He did not.
But they found him,
Yes.
and on some level, they were able to have completion,
Exactly.
which is
Exactly.
very valuable. What
Right,
you do,
right.
very valuable.
Right.
So, I bet you if that woman who had brought the shoes, if she had brought his watch, don't you think you could have, like he would have been looking at his watch. I'm late for my affair, and then
No, that was the other one. I don't know what she wanted. She just wanted. I don't think she wanted to know where he was exactly. Just she wanted to know about him as a person.
This was the one that she was married to.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
She could have just asked him over potluck, or pot roast. I mean, she could have just said, "Hey, honey, tell me about yourself."
Where have you been going?
People have the funniest stories.
I
But
know.
do you think you would have gotten more from a watch than an article of clothing or
Probably.
shoes? Yeah, and do you think there's something about the components, the fact that we're talking about materials that are more permeable, like batteries, like metal, like glass, like what do they say, quartz? Do you think that those things retain more energy than shoes or
I
underwear?
think it was me. I think I was just like, I don't want to sit there and hold somebody's shoe. It's not one of my favorite things to do.
I guess that is pretty
it was
funny.
my attitude. I think I probably would have gotten something. But
That is pretty funny when you think about it. So we have a few things here, and we even have we have a really vintage looking magnifying glass. I actually use this. So do you know I do parties where I do palmistry? I don't know if I ever told you that. Yeah, that's one of the things that I've done, and I like to bring my special vintage magnifying glass, which is
Beautiful.
or magnifier, which isn't really vintage, but it looks vintage, which is good enough for me. And I actually brought a few pieces just because I thought it might be fun
Okay.
to kind of do it. And then again, I have not worn this in a really long time. This came from my grandmother. It's actually costume jewelry. It's broken. One side does not. Costume jewelry like clip-on earrings, they hurt.
Yeah,
Don't they hurt?
they do.
And I used to wear these when I was younger, and then I was like, ugh, they hurt. But I can't get rid of it because it was my
I
grandmother's.
understand.
So
Yeah.
I probably should get it repaired. This was her. Oh, this actually.
That's very pretty.
Something. This is not her watch. This is not
not
her
her
watch.
watch.
This is
Okay,
like
she was
just.
trying to trick me.
I was
probably.
trying to trick you. No, this is something that I bought actually that looks vintage, and I was going to see. Well, maybe she can tell, maybe she can't. But this is really my husband's father's cufflinks.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you can get
I
anything.
can try. We'll see
Yeah,
what happens.
try. See what happens.
It is helpful. But it is helpful if I have a name. That's
So
awesome.
this is Hugh Frank Bauer.
Okay.
And my husband's father, unfortunately, I never got to meet him. He passed away when my husband was 7, and he was only 42, I think. So
Okay.
he passed away quite young.
Okay, let me see what I can get.
Okay. She's going to see what
Wasn't
she can
expecting this, but that's okay.
get.
I don't know if this is correct or not, but do you know whether or not he was in the military at all?
He was he was in the military. I had to ask my husband.
Right.
He's off stage.
I mean, what I'm getting is the first thing that I got when I started holding this was somebody that was, they kind of have this attitude, like a sailor. That's why I asked if he was in the military. What part of the military was he in?
He was in the Army.
Okay.
Army.
But he had like an attitude. The one I'm getting is that he had an attitude of, kind of reminds me of a little bit like James Dean. That's what he reminds me of.
Well, he like a swagger.
Exactly.
Well, I never got to meet him. I don't.
Like a good looking guy.
He was very good.
Very
looking
good looking.
From the photos.
Very charming. Very particular.
Mm-hmm.
He was very particular. When he had a stubborn streak. I'm getting somebody who, once he made his mind up to something, was very, very into being right.
Well, I know that he wanted his wife to have kids until she had a boy. So
Okay.
yeah, he's got
Right. Was he? I also get something about him being handy.
Mm-hmm.
Like really, I see him building something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that's interesting because from what I know, he grew up on a farm,
Okay.
so probably kind of worked with his hands to some degree.
I'm also getting some type of. Sorry, I forgot your husband's name.
Eric.
Eric. Okay. Eric. I feel like he calls him a nickname, like maybe it was Kiddo or something. It was just a nickname.
Can you see me?
We have a caller, everybody.
Well,
Okay.
not sure this is right. How do I look? Wait, I think you're upside down.
Yeah, I think you're upside down. This is our caller.
No, I'm sideways. How do? Honestly, well, I'm getting busy here.
Yeah, I think he's out in the middle.
Okay.
Stratosphere. Can you
I think.
try to like?
All right.
correct
I think.
your-
No. Can you see me? Am I sideways? I'm sideways,
You're
right?
actually upside down.
I'm upside down.
That might be a sign.
Should I stand on my head? I don't know.
So.
How-
Yeah, he was gonna. I think our caller was going to confirm and talk about some of the things that he was here. Is that what you were doing? You were trying to confirm or validate or not validate?
You guys are breaking up on me a little.
Rush of feeling, or do you it's just about popping the images? You just see images.
I have to ask permission. First of all, there's some people that don't want to talk. I can hold an item and I can sit there and beg them to say, I'm not going to hurt you. I just want some information. If they don't want to talk to you, they're not going to talk to you.
So you're actually really getting the personality, it sounds
Right,
like.
exactly.
Because I know that's what happened with me, because you just all of a sudden,
Right,
got
right.
what you bargained for
Right.
with Eileen.
I mean, exactly.
But we have to call her both because it's hard. Sometimes those messages are hard to get across,
She's
and
going to get mad.
I wouldn't want to call her Eileen.
It's Arlene. It's Arlene, she says.
Is it really?
It's Arlene.
Is it really Arlene?
Yeah, that's what I just got.
Oh my God! So now we
It's
know.
Arlene.
Well, that makes more sense because if somebody passed away, couple of decades ago, and they had gone through that age group, then Arlene would be a much more common name than Aileen.
That's funny. Yeah, she's just got it mad. Okay.
Yes, Arlene. Well, we're on a live broadcast. We can't, we have to address her by the right name. So we got it. We got Arlene.
Arlene. Do you want me to just stop on this? I'll stop on this.
Yeah.
He was. I just got very, very particular. Did he smoke? Do you know if he smoked? Yeah.
He
So
did.
I was getting
Yeah.
smoker.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a smoker.
Right. So how it works, we're talking about that, is I ask permission,
Mm-hmm.
and then I get a lot of visuals. Like immediately, I got military. I thought he was a sailor, though, but he wasn't. That type of attitude.
But he may have. I'd have to ask, but he may have had something to do with water anyway, because I know that his brother was involved in boats and
Okay,
they
that's
spent a
what I
lot
was
of
getting.
time
Water. I was
together
getting a lot of water. That's so funny.
and did some sort of fishing kind of thing.
Okay,
So
that's what I
there
was
may
getting.
be an overlap there.
And maybe he wanted to be a sailor and never got to be a sailor.
Yeah, perhaps. I just think it's interesting that stuff comes from jewelry. Would you get something completely different from stones? I mean, obviously you do because you like to hold stones. So.
Right. Yeah, that's a completely. You have to clear, and you also have to clear things.
Yeah, let's talk about that because that's one thing. Like I never clear things.
Right.
I'm not that compliant. I talked about this before about making sure that my aura is clean, and I could definitely be better with all that.
Everyone's got to. I'm the kind of person that I weigh in. I listen to my own inner voice. I'm sure there's things on Google that have a specific way of clearing things. I do it the Jan way. And the Jan way.
What is the Jan way?
The Jan way would be like dusting, like literally physically dusting something off, right? Putting it. There's certain things that you bury outside for obviously not in the rainy season. Bury outside so the sun, clears it. Sea salt. There's certain items
Right.
you can. You have to find out, what type of jewelry and if it's going to be hurt or something like that before
Okay.
you do it. But that's how you clear it. And you ask that, only positive energy be in this particular piece of jewelry or whatever it
Mhm.
is.
Is that why sometimes people put things in a plant? They'll put things in dirt in a plant by the window, so it actually gets the sun and it gets the soil.
Right.
Is there a time period that they should do it? Should it just be like 3 days, or is there any special?
Well, again, it's the Jan thing. I do it for 24 to 48 hours. Okay.
Okay.
And also the full moon is another wonderful time to clear things.
Okay.
Isn't there a moon tonight?
Yes,
Isn't that huge
tonight
tonight?
is a very big full
Yeah.
moon. That's right.
Right.
And it's supposed to do a lot. Like a lot of people are, I'm just going to say this, a lot of people are going through all sorts of emotions because of this election. This was probably the most pivotal election
Yes.
I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
I think no matter what side you were on, you were deeply affected by this election.
Absolutely.
And this full moon that we're going into tonight is supposed to be a very good moon for releasing that. So I think people can really focus on trying to come to peace with their emotions, whatever they're going through or whatever they're feeling, and just feeling more balanced again.
Absolutely.
And speaking of the election, I don't want to cut you off, but you said something to me before the show where we did a show last week where we looked at, I know the leaves start to rain here, but we did a show last week where we actually looked at the astrological charts of the two candidates. And that was with Robert Kahn. Robert Simon Kahn was here, and he's an
Right.
astrologer at the Crystal Matrix.
Right.
He's a great guy, and we decided to do a show where we would look at Trump's astrological overlay, and we would look at Hillary's. And according to the information he got, and he also included other astrologers that had looked at these charts, he said that Hillary was going to win.
Right.
And the reason for that, it was again based on not statistics, but rationale, because the deductive reasoning, if I could say that, was because she had so many Jupiter aspects compared to him, where his chart did not look as lucky. It was so bizarre. Now, I told you that story, and you said to me, oh, nope, I knew that he was going to win.
I did.
And that's something that you should talk about, because that's fascinating.
Well, let's face it. she did win the popular vote, definitely. You
She
know.
did. She did.
It's very simple. You know, it's so interesting because you have a certain talent. It could be somebody that is an artist or something like that, and we can't believe how incredible they are. It's just like there's a God-given gift that we all have, whether it's writing or music or whatever. Mine, Madison's, is doing that. So
No, it's not because I did not know he was going to win. So this is your
Oh,
talent.
okay,
I think
okay.
you should own it and talk about how you told me that
Right.
you just knew.
well, I mean, what happens is that I ask for the final, like what is going to be the final result, and it's not. And actually, it was very hard for me this time. It wasn't like an instant, like I got it immediately. I got a vision of him, standing there and speaking and saying, being introduced as the president of the United States, and that's how I knew.
So you actually saw the inauguration,
Right.
in a sense.
Well, actually, I saw that night when he came out. I saw that.
You saw that.
Right.
Interesting.
Right.
And I like how you put it because you actually described it. You said you get like a news clip. It's
Right.
almost like you're reading the newspaper or you're seeing like a clip.
Right. Exactly. It's a visual. I'm a very visual person, and so what happened is that basically it's as if there was a headline and he won.
Wow.
Right.
So do you see anything else? Like do you see good headlines coming?
And the energy, around us right now is because there are so many people that are so angry and so depressed.
Yeah.
That if you're feeling that way and you're not even understanding, it isn't just about the election. It's a community sort of energy that you're feeling, especially if you're like an open-hearted person,
Right.
right?
So I think what she's talking about is the collective.
Exactly.
I mean, the collective is scientifically proven. This isn't like foo-foo psychic stuff. I mean,
Right.
the collective scientifically proven by Carl Jung, and we really do feed off of each other.
Absolutely.
There's that one theory. It's called the 12th monkey, or I don't want to quote something I don't know 100%, but it's just that there's this trickle down of information. One person gets it, then other people get it, and that's how we evolve. Our consciousness evolves together. And it's not just from what you see or what people tell you, although it is also part of that. It has to do with probably going to sleep at night and picking up into the superconsciousness what's going on. So, I was having that problem because I'm an empath.
Right.
And, I may not be seeing the clippings, but I mean, I'm definitely feeling what's out there for other people because I thought, you can see that a lot of people have not been sleeping. And again, folks, it doesn't matter what side you're on. You could be, I don't want to say one way or another how I feel, but you could be on either side and just be exploding with energy right now because that is what's floating around.
Exactly.
So what do we do? What do we do to kind of create that balance when everything else is kind of going a million miles an hour around us? And we're living in a place like a big city. I don't know how many of you live in big cities, but when you're living in a big city, it's hard to unplug, and it's hard. Like we're going away. We're going to a cabin for Thanksgiving, and I cannot wait. I feel like it's going to be the first night that I'm going to get good sleep.
I know the sleep has been horrible. I'm up 4:30 in the morning. Don't know what to do with it's crazy.
Right. And you're pretty neutral. I mean, if I could share that, you're pretty neutral. You told me you're like, I'm good. It's all part of the brand.
That's how I kind of feel. I'm in a place in my life where I'm realizing that I don't have very much control over much of anything. I mean, let's face it. We have control. So what do we do with that?
Right.
We have to come from a place of love, not ego and fear.
Right. And that. I think that is hard to do when you're. Think about our society. Most of our societies are doers.
Right.
Most people are doers. They're used to getting, setting goals, going for the goals. I think we've all been pretty fortunate to be able to be goal oriented.
Right.
But there's some things that, especially when you're picking up on what's floating around. So.
And especially can I just give you one example?
Please.
The energy energy is just like amazing, whether it be an item, whether it be what happens to you in your life. Like I have clients that are trying to sell a house. They can't sell the house because there is an energy that I found out. Their child does not want them to move. So she's sending all this energy. Do you know what I'm saying?
That's interesting.
Right.
How old is the child?
She's about, well, she's not, she's like 18 or 19.
Right. But somebody who has enough of a strong will can actually block energy.
I think so. I do.
Wow.
I do.
So what did you tell them to do? Did you tell them to kind of do like some sort of a ritual to give her a different viewpoint, or how did that work out? Because they're not going to move, are they?
Actually, I haven't. I just got the story, and I'm going to see him next week, so I can't give you the answer yet. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know yet.
That'll
I'm
be
not sure.
interesting, though. Yeah. So, but if that was true, like if somebody is attracted to somebody who's not attracted to them, can't they manipulate energy too, or is this different when it's somebody trying to block the sale of a home?
It's like putting a circle. How many things have happened where you try to get somewhere? I mean, I don't know what's happened to me where you try to get somewhere. And
You tried to get here today, and you couldn't. Is that the same? I don't think that's the same thing.
No, I don't mean that. I'm talking about like people that miss a plane.
Right.
People that, everything.
Right. Right. And I've had those dreams. Did you guys ever have those dreams where you feel like you're trying to get somewhere and you can't? I hate those dreams, those anxiety dreams. But yeah, it is interesting. I mean, we're living in a very interesting time, and you're right. We don't have control. We don't have control if the people that are living next door to us are anxious. We don't even have control if the people that we're sharing a bed with are anxious, or people living within our homes are anxious. And it sounds to me like just as you can pick up emotion from jewelry, you can, we're all unconsciously picking up each other's emotions from the air.
So I'm curious if you want to share or not, but how do you release? I mean, I have a ritual of releasing other energy that I don't want. I mean, if you have to do that.
So here's the interesting thing. I don't.
Okay.
And that is very bad for me.
But you told me that you don't feel drained.
No, I don't feel drained, but it translates as anxiety. So I have a tendency towards anxiety, and then, I know I should meditate, but I'm too anxious.
Okay, too anxious.
I'm too anxious to sit and meditate. How can I meditate when I've got so many things going on? So yeah, this is definitely one of my journeys. And I love hearing about how you release, because that's something, and I know that you're, even just knowing you the little bit that I know you, and knowing a little bit about your chart, although you have a lot of air in your chart, you're still a very, that Taurus really kind of brings you down to a very grounded place.
Right.
And that's great. That's your set point, really.
Right.
Because that's who you are, being a Taurus sun.
Right.
So, yeah, but you can tell me more about how you release, because it's good to know. It's good for everybody to know.
Do you want to do something? Do we have time? I don't even know.
Yeah, I think we have time. We have like 10 more minutes, I think. So,
okay.
Yeah.
You sit in a chair.
Okay.
Or you sit on the couch.
Okay.
Put your feet firmly on the
Okay,
ground.
I'm going to do this too.
Oh my
and I want you guys to do this with us. If you would this is great. Thank you for coming. Don't forget to send us a heart before you do this. Okay, so we're gonna sit and I'm gonna follow you, because I think everybody can, no matter where they are in the country, this might be something valuable.
Absolutely, because if you're carrying around like a magnet, energy is like a magnet, right? So we're carrying all this stuff around, our own anger and frustrations, other people's. So this is a great release. You sit in a chair or you sit on the couch, or put your feet firmly on the ground. You don't have to close your eyes. You can if you want to. You're taking a nice deep breath, breathing in through your nose. And then open your mouth slightly and very slowly breathe out. And then one more time, deep breath. And breathe out. Picture, imagine yourself, whether you're sitting, if you don't like sitting in a mountain or something of that sort, but something that makes you feel very grounded, whether it be a chair or sitting on a big stone in your imagination. Okay?
Okay. I got it.
Right. Then you picture like there's a rope almost your tailbone. That's going down under the earth. And there's a stone with a rope that's pulling you to the earth. That's part of being grounded.
Wow. I almost physically can feel that happening.
Right. And what you do is you ask for any negative energy that does not belong to you or does belong to you, that is not serving you in your life, to be released. It's almost like you're giving yourself like an emotional colonic, okay? So you're just letting everything go that doesn't serve you, that takes your energy, that's upsetting or stressful. I'm going to do this quicker because we don't have a lot of time. You sit with it as long as you can. I mean, it could be 10 minutes, it could be 5 minutes, just to release. And you might feel a vibration in your feet, and that's okay. It means you're doing your work. And then you picture or imagine a beautiful sun above your head, the crown of your head. Again, I'm doing this much faster than I normally would. And it goes through the top of your head all the way through your body, and that sun replenishes anything that you let go of that you should not have let go of, basically. You want to maintain your energy. Then you feel more solid and more grounded, ready to start your day. So you should do it in the morning and in the evening.
Wow.
Isn't that cool?
Thank you for doing that for us.
Cool.
I hope that some of the people watching did that. It's so funny because now that you did that, first of all, I do feel different.
Right.
Am I acting different? No, seriously, I do.
You're not looking different.
I don't look any. Are you sure?
No,
Look
maybe.
closer. No, I really feel different, but I noticed that my ears seemed to open and I could hear sounds that I had completely been background noise before and kind of all blended together. And
And it also opens up even more intuition too.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
really cool.
Great. I'm glad you liked it.
Well, thank you so much for coming. Do you want to
Pleasure to be here.
tell people again how they can connect with you? And didn't you say you're available for parties?
We're available for parties.
Yeah.
I can make you laugh too.
She can, really. That's also something she does.
It's Miracles of the Mind is the name of my company, and I'm Jan Hoffman, JANN, clairvoyant, psychometry.
Thank you again for watching. We hope that you got a little bit more of a vision of the different types of psychics that are out there, and also how energy works, how energy feels, and that you can work with psychometry, or you can practice with psychometry. And also, I hope that you were able to maybe let go of some of this intensity that's going on. So if you did the meditation with us, and feel free to do it every day, I'm going to definitely try to do it before I go to sleep tonight.
Great.
For sure,
Great.
sure. And I'll probably sleep better.
Okay.
So again, this is Metaphysically Speaking with Mystic Madison. I'm here every weekend, either Saturdays at 3 or Sundays at noon. Send us a heart, send us a like, just send me some info about what you want to see, and we will continue to have wonderful guests on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good evening.
Bye. All right, we'll close it out.